When Michael Parfit first set out to report on the story of a wild killer whale named Luna, I don't think he had any idea that the story would consume him for years and ultimately teach him something very important about himself.
Suddenly, I'd had enough of ditching him. I broke the rule.
The story began in the summer of 2001 when Luna lost contact with his family along the coast of British Columbia and turned up alone in a narrow inlet called Nootka Sound. Like us, orcas are social. They spend their entire lives in extended family groups, which some of you do and some of you really fight against. So, separated from his pod, Luna began to bond with humans, and people welcomed him with open arms. Well, most anyway. Determined to protect Luna, government authorities outlawed human contact with him.
Folks, this is not a watchable whale. Please don't touch it.
But Luna wasn't easily discouraged. Michael first told Luna's story in a documentary for the CBC, but to really bring the story to the world, he hoped to get Hollywood on board. He told and retold the story of the lonely little whale, but there was no interest until Hollywood actually came to him. British Columbianer Ryan Reynolds and Scarlett Johansson, well, they wanted to help tell Luna's story. Their collabo is a new documentary about Luna called The Whale. It poses some interesting questions about what we really know about the natural world and who should define what's acceptable when it comes to communication between humans and the animals.
This is now a lonely animal that's looking for comfort.
Please welcome to the show, Michael Parfit. Nice to see you, man. How are you? Great. Thanks for having a seat. You know, so one thing that we established in the bio was that you'd already basically told the story in a film, and now it's been remade. Tell me about this the decision and just why you did it again.
Well, you know, you start to think about it. And Ryan Reynolds comes along, and that changed things.
Ryan Reynolds makes us all think about it, my friend. No matter who you are, you look at Ryan Reynolds and you go, okay.
Yeah.
So what, he just sort of showed up, or you got a call?
Well, no, not really. We thought we'd better get somebody to narrate it who was better than me. And Ryan Reynolds was on the top of our list. We showed it to him, and he said, great, love to do it.
It's crazy how long this story has been part of your life.
Yeah, I can't remember doing anything else. Yeah.
Has your relationship with the story changed over the years?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, it changed while we were out there with Luna, and it changed dramatically, and it changed since then. You know, it's changed. Really reflecting on an experience. Well, you know what it's like? You have this sort of stunning experience in your life. You can't explain it all to yourself. When it's happening, afterwards, you think back on it. You think back on it all the time. And this film evolved as we were thinking about that experience and what it meant to us, and in talking to people who saw early drafts of it, what it meant to them. So we really kind of worked our way deeper into the story.
It speaks to the larger question that I think a lot of people have to deal with, which is communing with nature. Yeah. And should we? Like, should we? Yeah. You know, if we are a species, should we be communing with nature in that way? So to be that close to the whale and to be in the whale's life and to play with the whale, that's, you're never going to be the same after that.
And somehow providing something that he needed, but also that was possibly risky to him. Yeah. And that's where this conflict came in everybody's life. And that was, he needed something from us. He clearly wanted something from us.
He needed socialization.
A socialization. Well, no food. I mean, you know, when does a wild animal come up to you and want to socialize, not just want a handout? Right. He never ate anything that people gave him. He just,
Are you saying the whale wanted a hand up, not a handout? Is that what you're saying?
You said it. Okay. Yeah, no, so, you know, so this was a pretty amazing thing for everybody to go through, but at the same time we knew that this contact with human beings was risky for him. And so the question was, you know, what is our role here? Yeah. And so on a broader scale, you can look at that in terms of what is our role with all of these lives, you know, that live in this planet beyond us. And I think that's for us personally, for Suzanne and me personally, that's one of those things that sticks with us and makes us rethink this story all the time.
There was talk about putting Luna in a marine amusement park, and I wondered, what do you think of captivity for...
That's a political thing.
Yeah, but I'm happy to have that conversation.
I know, no, and you know, it's not a political film. We don't make that sort of statement. It's part of the story.
It's a choice not to make that statement.
It's a choice, and I make the statement here, it's appalling for orcas to be in captivity. It is. Yeah. These tanks are tiny. You know, they have relationships with their trainers because they are relationship creatures. Yeah. And those relationships can be very rewarding for their trainers. They can be frightening. These animals are not not right in these
They're like
places.
elephants in a way, aren't they?
They're very much, in a lot of ways, they're like elephants in the sense that, if they're trapped like that, they adapt.
Right.
And I think like captives, like human captives, they adapt and they learn how to please their keepers because they have to. Mm-hmm. But they don't belong there anymore. We should be out of that phase. We should be moving out of that phase.
Is there, what's your opinion on zoos? Because you've seen the argument where some people say for a lot of kids it's their chance to see these animals and get them involved in nature in the first place.
That's a tough one for me. That's a tough one for me because some of my greatest experiences as a child were in zoos. And I think most of us have that experience. And yet, at this point, I'd have a very hard time accepting captivity in general for these animals that I see now as being more complex and more social and more emotional than I ever really imagined. And that because of that experience with Luna.
Does it change the way you relate with humans now?
Yeah, I keep my distance.
Yeah, we're very different, right?
Yeah, really. No, in the sense that basically I feel like this has validated some of the things that I feel strongly about in society, that we are losing track of some of that need to connect. When Luna looks in your eye, you have that sense of connection with a whale, and he's looking at you with one eye, and you still have a sense of connection. What's that power telling us is important?
Are you imagining the connection?
It's possible. But you know what? He may have been imagining it too. I don't think either of us were imagining it. Why would he do it? Why would he constantly, he'd come up and play, he'd play with things around the boat. So what, suppose he just wanted to play with stuff. He comes up, he looks you in the eye. Yeah. Every time when he was playing with you, he'd be sort of like a kid in a playground who's checking out, making sure the parent's there, right? He wants to have that look.
Do you get a sense, you had said that there was some concern of some of your actions might not have been in the best interests of the whale long term. Do you get a sense that you've seen some of the negative parts of it before Luna died?
Yeah, well, there were negative parts to it. The sense that these interactions that people had with the whale were not negative is still very powerful to me, but that they were chaotic. And the chaotic part, here one day, gone the next. The chaotic part does not resemble what orcas live with, and most social animals do not live with chaotic relationships. Right. And that's, we were trying to say, well, we've got to figure out a way to have this a consistent relationship, and that never, we were never able to do that. Nobody was ever able to do that, except for one guy in the film, this guy named Jamie, who got some time with Luna, and Luna obviously had this very, very, almost, well, I wouldn't say complete, but very extensive relationship with him.
Peter Benchley said that when he wrote Jaws, had he known what he knows now about shark conservation, he never would have written it because of it really tainted people's view of sharks.
Yeah.
When going through your film and reading your story, I thought, the downside, it's wonderful that you had it. The downside is people are just going to want to go play with whales. You see it with people who go swimming with dolphins now. What do you think of that?
I think that this film is about respecting animals. It's really about respecting animals. And wild animals, if you really respect them, most of the time, 99% of the time, what they need from us is space.
What do you think about that tourism where people go swimming with dolphins and try to get into that space?
Yeah, there's some risks with that. There's definitely some risks with that. And I think one of the things, there's friends of ours, people who are involved in the film, who are trying to come up with protocols for these relationships, partly because of Luna, this whole story of Luna. Because what can we do if we do come up with a relationship where we can give them, when they do come to us, the few times that they come to us, we can give them something consistently. We can also learn from them. For sure.
You got to work with Ryan and Scarlett Johansson, right?
Yeah.
Were you more excited to meet Scarlett or Ryan?
Well, what do you want? I don't care about, six packs personally.
That's awesome. I really appreciate you coming in and sharing the story with us. The documentary is called The Whale. You must check it out. Michael Parfit, everybody. We'll be right back.